Are you surprised by which one I picked? I figured it was probably obvious when I was filming this morning between my two choices. Since I do seem to get distracted quite easily on more challenging patterns that I use for my Stitch With Me videos, this was a safe bet. And I'm so glad that it looks better on my stretcher bars, on my frame. The fabric is nice and taut. I have my lighting is looking good. So it looks a lot better than it did in my Whip Mania video this morning when I was trying to choose between this and the Rosewood Manor Quaker Diamonds, which I think I'm going to try and work on tomorrow. That's the plan anyways. So this is one of those older whips that I have in the stash that I am actually not using Vicki Clayton hand-dyed threads. I am using two of the called for threads, which are Dinky Dyes silks, which are, the medium shade is Cherry Wood and the lightest shade is Dusty Rose. And the darkest color that I'm using in this design was a substitution. It's a Gentle Arts Weathered Barn. The called for Dinky Dyes for that is actually the Dinky Dye that's called Shades of Wine. So I have the Cherry Wood and the Dusty Rose. The other one is number 229, which is Shades of Wine. And I can remember discussing this with Kathy, the owner of Fred and I. She started this before I did, and she is the one who changed that color conversion out to that because she liked this color better, and I agreed with her. So that's why I'm a big copycat, and I decided to do what Kathy was doing. So now what am I doing here? I had my pattern in front of me, and then I just changed it in order to look at the color page there. Well, there we go. All right. Rustle, rustle, rustle. This is an 11, 12. How many pages do we have here? 11, 10, 11. 11 pages of pattern. 12 pages of pattern. It's substantial, but the pattern is beautifully laid out. Very nice large print, easy to see. And unlike Dido, I know where I am and will hopefully not mess that up today. So those are my threads. I keep everything in a small Notions pouch. They all just squeeze in there. And then I know this doesn't look very glamorous, but my ones that are not on cards, I just keep them loose and everything is tucked in there together. So let's see. I am going to be continuing on with this triangle. I'm going to finish up that triangle, and then if I have time, I'm going to carry on down this channel here because I figured that would be a fairly straightforward thing to accomplish while we're having a little chat today. So the linen that I'm using is a 40 count white linen, and I am using one thread over two. Let's see if I can. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause this video. I will be right back. Okay, so I have been wanting to share this with you for a week now, and it's finally time. I received a little surprise in my mailbox. Just gonna try and straighten this up a little bit. That's better. And you don't have to look at a crooked design for the next 20 minutes. I received a surprise in the mail from Pam, who you will remember a few weeks ago when I did the tapestry design, we were talking about the needle trolley. Well, Pam and many others of you use a needle trolley. And Pam said that she had an extra one and offered to send it along so that I could try it. So about a week ago in the mail, I received a little package, and I just wanted to show you. Look at the card. How perfect is that card that Pam sent? I mean, really. It's just lovely. Just lovely. You guys are all so thoughtful and creative. You know, the care and thought that goes into the treasures that you send out into the world are just very meaningful and heartfelt. And thank you. Just thank you, Pam. It was really very, very nice way to end my day after I picked up the mail. So anyways, I'm wearing the needle trolley on my finger that Pam sent. So as you can see, that's what it looks like. It looks like, when I first saw it, I thought, because Golden Stitcher had sent me a picture of hers, and I thought it looked like a little fencing sword. So I like to imagine when I'm wearing it that I'm going fencing. Isn't that a funny thing to think of? But obviously, since I am stitching 1/2 on this piece, the needle trolley is not necessary. It's not necessary for this piece because there's nothing to use a laying tool for. So anyways, but I wanted to share this because in that package that Pam sent me, she also sent me one of her favorite tools. And I thought this was pretty neat. So for all those thread lickers out there, Pam has got us covered. She sent me a needle threader. She says she has one and one like this, and she uses it all the time. And Pam, I have to tell you a funny story, because not 3 or 4 days later, a good friend of mine, Sandy here in London, gave me another needle threader that has a you can attach. It's so lovely, and I'll show it next Friday. On next Friday's video, I'll use it because it has a clasp that you can attach it to your scissor. It's like a scissor fob with a little needle threader on it, and it's a completely different kind of threader. This one has a magnet on it, so you can attach it. So this is Puffin and Company magnetic needle threader, and you can attach it. So let's put it right there. You can stick it right on your work, and then it's right available right there when you need to use it. Or I guess you could just, I could even put it on my needle minder, and then it's right there. Okay, so the other thing that Pam sent were 2 needles. Now, I've never seen these before, but it rings a bell that Dawn, Frosty Cross Stitch, I think she sent me a question wondering about where to find these needles. And because the gold eye is what triggered my memory of Dawn asking where to find these. So apparently these are needles that Priscilla and Chelsea talked about. I must not have seen the episode where they talked about them. So apparently these needles are from Needle Case Goodies on Etsy. And they are Pat's favorite needle. I guess that's what they're called. Pat's favorite needle, tapestry gold eye needle, size 26. And Pam says that she's been using them for a few months and that she really loves them. So, so the needle threader sticks to your needle minder. That's what Pam says. So I think actually that makes a lot more sense, because then you can just tuck it off there. So these are a size 26. Now, I normally use a size 28 needle. However, I did hear Abby Bella Stitch talked about using a slightly bigger needle than what we thought we should use, because it helps open up the hole in order to allow the thread to come through, causing less wear and tear on your thread. So you may or may not know that I'm quite a stubborn creature of habit. And so switching from a 28 needle, my beloved 28, needle to a 26, I'm not too sure, but I am willing to try. So I'm going to tuck my 28 onto the little felt cloth that Pam sent, and I'm going to give this 26 a try. So let's see how we go. And that also means that I'm going to try out the needle threader as well. So look at me trying new things. A needle threader and a size 26 needle all in one go. Now let's see how this thing works here. Oh my goodness. The needle threader. Never thought I'd see the day. Look at that. I am a die-hard thread licker. So in order for me to be using a needle thread, well, look at that. It actually does what it's supposed to do. It threaded that needle beautifully. Does this mean I'm going to have to give up licking my thread? Oh my goodness. All right, so let's, actually, I think that's gonna stick better to the back. There we go. All right, so I've threaded my needle now. Thank you, Pam. And now I'm going to get this ready to go. So, okay, so it's a little bit more, it was a little bit stickier to sew through the back of my threads, but I did manage to do it. No problem. Okay, back we go. Are we still straight? Looks good. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Size 26 needle. Take one. Now I realize I'm probably going to have to give it a chance and not give up after 5 stitches. Definitely feels different. It feels bigger in my hand. I like it. I don't notice that it's causing the hole to be distorted. Now, it's not as pointy as my 28. However, I do tend to use a slightly sharper needle generally. I don't, I know a lot of people like the Bowen needles. I tend to actually not prefer the Bowen needles because I find them a bit too blunt for a lot of the fine work, 1/1 on 28 count or 32 count. I find the Bowens, I find it very, very difficult to sew my work in the back, to end my threads and start my threads in the back, because the blunt tip really doesn't want to pick up those stitches at the back. They're just a little too snug. So it's taking a very nice stitch, but I am not quite used to the bluntness of that tip to find the holes. I think my 28, and it's most likely because that's what I'm used to, there's a little bit more resistance at the hole, but I think that obviously makes sense because it's a slightly bigger needle, as well as the tip perhaps not being quite as sharp. But I will say it feels very nice in the hand. I will have to get used to it. I feel like it's very, very slightly slowing me down, only because I feel like I'm having to take a couple extra attempts at the hole than I normally would. Okay, I have made it to the corner, so up I go. Now I should have 2, 3, 4, 5. I should have 5 stitches from here to here. So let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we are correct. I do, yeah, it's quite a bit more blunt than my other ones. But I need to give it a chance. I think I will continue using this needle for the rest of today so that I give it an honest Ed review for myself. I do think this needle would be a bit better on a slightly bigger count. But I also suspect that's because this is what I am used to. Creature of habit, that's me. Sarah's birthday party last night was a success again. This time of year is always so very full. 3 birthdays and Mother's Day, as well as Kiwanis Festival for my students, conservatory exams for my students, and planning the studio recital for the end of the year, as well as the sewing business has been very busy lately, which is phenomenal. I appreciate everyone so much who has purchased a bag from Evertote, the custom orders that I have been dealing with. Everybody is just incredibly friendly and kind. So if you have a bag on order from me, it is underway. Anybody who has not received a dispatch notice yet from an order that they've placed, you should be receiving them by Sunday at the latest. So today is Friday. If you have not received a dispatch notice, you will receive it by Sunday at the latest. The next few days are family heavy, so I am interspersing Evertote work in amongst keeping my family running at the same time. So I apologize if the bags are going out a couple of days, maybe, they're still within the delivery date that I set on Etsy, but I usually like for, what did I do there? Why did that? Oh, you know what I did? I attached it here, but then I started my X's over here. Oh, shoot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to sew this in. Yeah, sewing this in is a bit tight. Let's go this way. All right, I think that works. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick. I have shown this before. So let's show it again. I am going to clip. I'm going to clip this little extra thread. I'm going to be really careful not to snip through my fabric, but I know that this is well attached here. So I know that that's safe. So now I'm left with this small end right there. I think you can see it. Yeah. Okay. Because I really don't want to carry that dark maroon thread across that triangle, because I don't want it to show through the front of the fabric when the piece is finished and framed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little trick with a piece of thread, another piece of thread. There are actually tools that you can buy that will work to do this, and they're called Star Detailer. But all I'm going to do is take a piece of thread. So all you do is, and I actually don't have any scrap pieces of thread beside me because my Ort jar is across the room. So I'm just going to use an extra little piece of DMC that I've just cut in half here. Okay, and I've made a loop like that with the end. Now, because I know right away I'm going to need a really sharp tip to get through those stitches there, I am going to, oh, where did I put it? I'm going to use my old needle to do this. So, oh, and look what I did. Habit. Let's use that needle threader. Stop licking your thread. It really is best not to lick your thread. It's just, I just grew up licking my thread. It's just a habit. Now, I'm all thumbs with this thing. So it's going to take some practice. But I am, oh, it's almost a little snug for this. I'm not sure whether this is going to go through here. It was perfect for the 26. It might be a little snug on the 28. Shoot. Did that work? Yes, there we go. That's going to take me some practice. Okay, so now let's get those ends evened up again. This looks fiddly, doesn't it? It really isn't. It's quite simple. I'm making it look much harder than it is. Okay. So, you can see I have a loop and the two ends. So on this end of the needle, I have a loop of thread and then the two ends on the other side. Okay, so all I do is, can you see that? I am going to, how's that? Is it still focused? I think so. Okay, so you bring the needle through several of the backs of stitches like that. Pull that into your work until what you're left with is that loop on the end. And then you carefully do a little bit of maneuvering to get the little teeny end inside the loop. Can you see how it's now inside the loop? I'm going to hold that little end with my left hand, and I'm simply going to now continue pulling, and it is caught. So I'm going to pull, and now that little end that was loose has been tucked neatly inside and is buried under those stitches. And now I'm free and clear. I don't have anything surrounding that. So it seems a little bit fussy. It seems a little bit, you know, like an extra step, and why not bother, and why not just leave it back there? And normally I'm not one to fuss overly much about my back because generally the way I stitch, it's quite neat and tidy anyways. But that I think is fairly important on a white linen, to not have a dark thread carried across the back that would, you know, distract or distort from what you can see. So there, now you can see my hand through the back there. So you can only imagine what a piece of dark, so here I've got the black thread. I'll just show you. You can see through the back. You can see that thread. And those kinds of things you can see through your work when you go to frame them. So that's always quite important to me, that I don't carry the threads very far on a really light colored linen when it matters. So tip of the day. Anyways, so as you can see, I've finished the triangle, and tonight, once I carry on with my stitching, I am going to come down here, and then I'm going to continue carrying on working down here. That's the plan. And tomorrow, maybe quicker diamonds. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. Happy weekend, happy stitching. I will see you tomorrow morning for Whip Mania Day 12. Have a great night.